High up in the Himalayas, there's a mysterious organism that is literally worth more than its weight in gold. Seriously, no exaggeration. It's a bioresource that has sparked these legendary, almost magical myths, fueled ancient medical traditions for centuries, and is now driving a massive, multi-million-dollar black market. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are completely unraveling the fascinating and honestly kind of bizarre world of Keeda Jadi, or as science calls it, Cordyceps sinensis. We're going to dive deep into its unbelievable biology, decode the ancient myths, and look at the urgent race to protect this incredibly rare resource before it's gone for good. So here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll kick things off with the Himalayan mystery itself, then explore the tension between medicine, myth, and science. After that, we'll uncover the dark side of demand, check out the current legal frameworks, and finally, build a blueprint for sustainable conservation. All right, Section 1, the Himalayan mystery. Life above 3,000 meters. Let's head way up into the alpine clouds and see where this elusive organism actually lives. So the local communities across the Tibetan Plateau, Bhutan, Nepal, and India have known for centuries that this is no ordinary plant. The traditional Tibetan name for it is Yarsagumba, which translates perfectly to summer grass, winter worm. And that functional description, it hits the nail on the head. In the winter, it behaves entirely like an insect. But come summer, it looks exactly like a tiny blade of grass just sprouting up from the earth. The biology here is literally like a sci-fi movie. Deep underground, you have this normal ghost moth caterpillar just hanging out, living its life, but then it gets infected by the spores of a very specific fungus. And slowly, that fungus consumes the living larva from the inside out, basically mummifying it. Then, as the snow melts and summer hits, this tiny, stalk-like fruiting body bursts right out of the dead caterpillar's head and reaches up above the soil. This single, unified thing, half insect, half fungus, is the Keeda Jadi. Crazy, right? Moving on to Section 2, Medicine, Myth, and Science. Separating fact from folklore. Let's figure out how this zombie caterpillar became such a prized global commodity. We really have to draw a firm line here between the myth and the actual reality. In a lot of local folklore, especially around Dharamshala and Tibetan societies, Keeda Jadi is hyped up as this miraculous cure-all. You'll hear stories tied to magical blessings and royal legends, with some claiming it guarantees over 100 years of life. But when we look at it through the lens of modern science and mature Ayurveda, it's a different story. Does it contain active nucleosides, peptides, and amino acids? Yes. Is it considered a potent rasayana, a rejuvenator for fatigue? For sure. But there is absolutely zero scientific proof that it's some magic immortality pill. Just like any potent medicine, it needs an exact dosage and professional medical guidance. And the source material sums this up perfectly. Keeda Jadi should neither be viewed with blind faith nor driven merely by market greed. It demands a mature, scientific, and ethical lens. Treating it like a magical quick fix only fuels this incredibly unsustainable exploitation. We need to respect the science, not the sensationalism. Which brings us to Section 3, the dark side of demand. High value, high risk. Let's look at the harsh economic reality and the dangerous crisis this demand has created. Because this stuff is so unimaginably expensive, the black market is just totally flooded with fakes. It's wild. Sellers will routinely substitute it with cheaper, entirely different species like Cordyceps militaris, or they'll pass off lab-grown cultured mycelium as authentic wild Himalayan. Even worse, some shady dealers literally cram dirt or soil into the product just to artificially bump up the weight. And the scariest part is that without rigorous checks, wild batches can be heavily contaminated with dangerous levels of heavy metals and arsenic. So you've really got to ask yourself before ever trusting a random market label, is the Keeda Jadi you're looking at actually real, or is it a dangerous fake? Buying this blind isn't just a way to lose a ton of money, it's a legitimate health hazard. True verification goes way beyond just paying a hefty price tag. Ensuring authenticity requires hard, documented science. We're talking mandatory DNA barcoding to prove it's the exact right species. We need heavy metal and microbial testing for basic safety. And you have to have strict legal traceability, transit permits, invoices, to prove it was actually sourced ethically. Without all of that, you're just walking blind into the dark side of the trade. Okay. Section 4, Legal Frameworks and Trade, a patchwork of policies. Let's examine the complex, honestly somewhat messy web of state regulations governing its trade. There are massive disparities in how different regions handle this. Bhutan is widely considered the gold standard here. They use a formalized auction system with fixed harvesting seasons and transparent pricing, which ensures it directly benefits the local highland communities while keeping all the legal documentation tight. Then you have Sikkim in India, which uses a strong, controlled model. Range officer permits are strictly mandatory, and harvesting is entirely banned in national parks. But then contrast those with Uttarakhand. It suffers from what we'd call unregulated vulnerability. Local Van Panchayats are involved, sure, but the lack of strict overarching oversight leaves a huge risk for middlemen to exploit collectors and drive illegal, destructive trade. And for regions that are just opening up to this trade, like Himachal Pradesh, a science and protection first approach is absolutely vital. Before any commercial harvesting gets the green light, we need thorough scientific surveys and real habitat protection in place. You simply can't let people loose in these fragile alpine regions to just dig up the soil unchecked. It would be an ecological disaster.
Finally, Section 5, Blueprint for Sustainable Conservation, Protecting the Himalayas. We've seen the biology, the myths, the fakes, and the legal loopholes. Now let's outline the solutions needed to rescue this bioresource.
To fix this incredibly complex issue, experts have actually proposed a robust 20-point policy framework. It's a comprehensive plan that heavily focuses on balancing conservation with community rights, bringing local youth and women into the value chain, and establishing constant ecological monitoring. Let's break down the most critical steps from that framework, which would require serious oversight from groups like the National Medicinal Plants Board. First, we need to establish a clear legal status across all regions and completely halt the harvesting of immature specimens. Second, implement rotational harvesting, meaning we deliberately leave specific patches of land untouched so the ecosystem can actually regenerate. Third, launch state-level transparent market auctions, mimicking that successful Bhutan model to cut out the black market middlemen. And fourth, enforce QR-based traceability to guarantee safety while making sure the financial benefits go directly back to the local communities who protect these lands. At the end of the day, we have to remember that in traditional Ayurveda, health is a holistic lifestyle. True longevity, it comes from a balanced diet, proper rest, mental peace, and harmony with nature. Keeda Jadi, if you use it at all, is just one tiny piece of a much broader life philosophy. Viewing it as a standalone magic cure completely misunderstands both modern science and ancient wisdom. I want to leave you with this final critical thought about humanity's relationship with our planet's rarest resources. Will we consume the Himalayas out of pure greed, chasing these myths of immortality until there is quite literally nothing left? Or will we step up and protect them through sustainable science, community rights, and deep ecological respect? That choice is ultimately going to shape the entire future of this incredible ecosystem. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this deep dive gave you a powerful new perspective on Keeda Jadi. Stay curious, stay informed, and I'll catch you in the next one.